It's Edge Radio Australia. Malloy with you. Very, very, very happy today because I've got a gentleman here who I really enjoy speaking to. In fact, he's got a lot of knowledge that, quite frankly, I need to tap into. Let's be absolutely frank about this. Jeff Bowman, mate, great to have you here. Your Wealth by Design. Look, so much knowledge, so many things we could talk about. I actually don't even know where to start on this. So let's just start with let's just chat about you, mate. Where do you come from? Not originally, we don't need the story right from birth, but let's talk about what got you here to Edge Radio Australia.
Oh, thank you, Aaron. A career change, really.
Okay.
Yes, I had a financial planning company for about 25 years, and sold that 2 years ago. Took some time off with my wife, did a bit of traveling around, and anyway, got bored. Never developed a real interest in the boating or the golfing world, and so I set up Wealth by Design because it's a unfinished business, I think, for the work that we can do in the wealth space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer a financial advisor. I handed in my ticket when I sold my business.
Right. How long ago did you sell the business?
February 2022.
Okay. Yeah, not so long ago, but a change of tack.
A change of tack, yes. So we can't give licensed financial planning advice because we're not advisors.
I appreciate you saying that straight up. It's very, very good.
Yeah, no, but it's an important delineation because we can openly talk about a whole range of topics and give great in-depth education and training on a range of services that were related or directly involved back in the planning days.
Okay.
But as long as it's based on education and training and there's no advice, we can still cover a lot of areas.
I thoroughly I say it a million times over. Okay. Look, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Being proactive, getting the education, you can move forward and you can actually achieve your goals that you want to achieve. Now, a lot of people get very fixated on wealth in so many different ways. For me, the fundamental of wealth is just to have freedom. Quite frankly, to have options. And when you've got control of your own finances or the way you're moving forward, you've got a lot more things you can do for yourself. You can actually live your life.
You can. And I think the secret is that there is a number of different areas of expertise that people can access on their journey to financial independence.
Mm-hmm.
And a financial advisor may well be a very important part of that journey. And we refer work to financial advisors.
That's good. So you've got a sort of a team network sort of thing, if you like.
We do, yeah. So we sort of, once people have had a good chat to us and we can work out a bit of a roadmap for them, then we can say, righto, well, based on what you've told us, you really probably need to talk to a decent finance broker to restructure some of your loans.
Sure.
We can put you in contact with a finance broker. That would be our determination. Or if it's clear that they need some estate planning, we've got the right lawyers that can go and do their wills and enduring powers of attorney.
Okay.
Some of the services we offer in-house, we can do without being advisors. Novated Leasing is a really important...
I'm getting asked about this all the time. I'll ask you later on because I honestly, this is becoming a big of a thing. A lot of people have contacted me, friends, people through obviously the links at Edge Radio, who are really interested in lowering their tax, taxable income, looking after their super. And that seems to be one way that's sort of going forward. But I want to talk to you about that later. I want to know more about you, if that's cool.
Yeah, that's fine. It's an important part of showing people how to save on their costs. And one of the biggest costs, if you're a salaried person, is tax.
Yeah.
And it's probably the remaining tax deduction benefit you can get.
I kind of had a little wry smile because somebody I was just speaking to yesterday was literally going, I lose a third of everything. And she was quite upset about it. Because especially when you're working so hard, I mean, the hours are long these days, right? And you feel like you're losing that personal time. So if you're working really hard for your goals and trying to set up a future, sometimes when you look at that and go, I've lost a third, I've lost a half, I've lost a whatever of what I've earned, gee, it stings.
It really does. And there's very few tax deductions for employees. There's what is there? There's not super. Income protection insurance is tax deductible, but that's about it. Yeah. So for a private motor car, not business use, just private use, it can be all salary packaged up through payroll. I mean, we started doing a lot of this consultancy work back in the early 2002. We started doing contract education work for all the corporates in the mining and oil and gas sector.
Now that feels like not that long ago. That's over 20 years ago.
I know.
Yeah. Like when I think it's 20 years ago, I'm kind of thinking the 80s. I've missed, a decade or two.
It flies, doesn't it?
It really does, mate.
I know.
That's a long time to be in the game. I mean, you've started longer, well, just been in for such a long time.
Yes.
But yeah, just to be talking about a product that it's almost relatively new and it's a quarter of a century old.
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Well, the thing is, if you talk about the novated leasing side, the big operators that promote it really wouldn't talk to any employer unless they had around 250 odd employees in size.
Wow.
So they concentrated on the government departments and the corporates, the Woodsides and so forth.
Yep.
But the beauty with what we've done is to set up a brokerage in novated leasing.
Okay.
It's the first in Australia. And we've targeted the SME market. And so
now SME market is
a small to medium enterprise. And so any employer from like 250 employees down to one. Yeah.
Hang on. So a business with one employee,
yes,
sole trader,
yeah,
can do a novated lease.
Not a sole trader.
Oh, okay.
So there's a couple of caveats. You must have a pay slip,
right? And
you must be on salary.
Okay.
But you could be on salary via your own business.
Yeah.
So a company or a trust.
Sure.
And if you tick those boxes, you could be a one employee company. And our novated leasing program can now allow you to access the same benefits that a $500,000 executive at Woodside would get. In fact, better. So same fleet discounts on vehicles.
Oh, hang on. The same discount, because that sometimes this kind of really grates me a little bit. The us and them kind of mentality of the big boys in town. They get the special rates. They get special rates on this and that, and be able to reduce their tax, but also be able to purchase at a better price. So you're telling me that a single person or person running their own business in that situation, if you like, they can get the same deal as the CEO of Woodside?
Totally. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's absolutely unique. Yeah. It's about 6,500 novated leases sold each month in Australia. It's quite a big industry. Like it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Of course.
But now the little guy, which is because we've always been small business, and so we just love the whole small business scene.
Yeah.
And so a corporate product that's been around for 25 years, but never been available for the small to medium business sector, is now available through us.
Okay.
So it's a national company. We run it out of our office in Subiaco.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, look, there's so much to absorb there, quite frankly, because I think to myself, as I say, like so many things that just weren't available to us. Okay, and you're making that available. And I think that the small business, the mum and pup sort of stores, if you like. I mean, this is the foundation of Australia, right?
Yep. It's
not all about the corporates, and not all about the mining. I know that obviously we've stopped riding on the sheep's back a long time, and it seems to be iron ore in Australia, but every store out there, every independent business that employs a couple of people, when you shop there, you're putting a little girl through T-ball. You're not like putting another story on a CEO's house. And I think that's a big part of the fabric of society.
Yep.
It's a really cool thing that I can see that people are actually going to be able to access those same advantages.
Yeah, totally. We love it because, and it leads on to other things. But it's a very good start because it's an unregulated product.
Yep.
Which means that even legally, there's no compliant obligation on the promoters of novated leasing to actually disclose anything of material interest to the customer, which in this world is very odd.
It is very odd. There's regulations on everything.
I know. It's a commercial, unregulated product, novated leasing. And so we've adopted a financial planning approach to how we educate employers and employees on how it can be a very powerful financial planning tool, and not just for new cars, for existing vehicles or second-hand vehicles.
This is a biggie because a lot of people do want to just buy that little bit down the line because you save on sales tax and that sort of thing. Why not?
Yeah.
And miss on that devaluation of the asset.
Definitely.
So that's a good thing. Because I was under the misconception. Sorry, Kate, sure, but Jeff, I really for many years, and I've only relatively recently found out, I thought it had to be on a new vehicle.
No, it's not. The industry would like to think that it's only a new vehicle because that's how they sort of sort of edge it
Mm.
towards new vehicles. But the reality is, it's as long as the vehicle's not older than 10 years at the end of the lease term,
Okay.
and the maximum lease term is 5 years.
Right. Okay.
So that's, you work within those parameters,
Mm.
and you can refinance your private debt with one of the banks or whatever into a novated lease. You can do that.
Sure.
Turn your non-tax deductible debt into tax deductible debt with a novated lease on your existing car. You might want to release the equity out of your existing car if you own it.
Right.
Do a novated lease on it, because
Yeah.
we'll have clients that say, look, I've still got a mortgage and I've still got a credit card debt, but I own my own car. We go, well, if you thought about novated leasing, you could actually release the equity out of your depreciating item, which is a car. They always go down in value.
Yep.
And then take that money and pay off your credit card and maybe reduce your mortgage, or maybe get a deposit on the next investment property.
Okay.
So it's quite a flexible tool if you know how to use it. Yeah.
I'm going to look at it from a completely different, because I'm not a financial guy. Okay. I'm a car guy.
Yep.
Right. So as a car guy, I'm going to tell you a little story on this one. I had a mate of mine paying way too much tax. Okay. Working up north on the mines, and such a big sacrifice, right, to work on the mines. Okay. A lot of people don't realize that, but it really is. And you lose so much of your family time. Now, being a car guy, and an absolute Holden HSV fanatic, he actually, on a novated lease, actually got himself this HSV, absolute monster of a thing, absolutely beautiful, right? Now, he was able to enjoy something that he'd always wanted in his life, right? So he's rewarding himself for the sacrifice that he was paying the price of missing his family and his kids growing up or whatever. But there was some sort of, I don't know, there's almost like a payback, because he had that fantastic toy that he loved so much, brought so much joy to him. His wife drove it while he was away, which is, so everybody got some fun out of it.
Yeah.
And now all the time he's reducing his tax and also be able to pump up his super. So,
Yes.
Where's the loser here?
Yeah, well, it's really funny you should mention that, because Kevin Rudd, when he was coming up against Tony Abbott in the election that he lost to Tony Abbott, he actually promoted that he would get rid of salary packaging.
I remember this.
And novated leasing as part of his election platform. And it sort of backfired, because there's over 1 million novated leasing customers at any one time, increased at about 3 to 4% a year. Okay. And it's unofficial, this, but it's a known in the industry that it's an election killer. Okay. Messing with people's salary.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what's going on right now, and I mean, okay, I sit here and I'm struggling not to get political, because that's kind of my vibe on so many things. But okay, right now you've got the Albanese government who are talking about putting pressure on people, everyday Australians who are doing the right thing, and they've got their small businesses, or they've got their utes, and they're taxing the utes, increasing the tax on. And now a lot of people have got those dual cab utes because they can use it for work and for play. It's sort of, there's some sort of compromise there, and to actually punish them and try and push them into other sort of vehicles.
Yes.
And wherever you sit on what cars you like, I mean, it's your personal taste. Yes. I mean, I know that a lot of people now are looking at electric cars, not my thing, but hey, for some people, I believe that's pretty attractive on novated lease too.
It is, Aaron. In the first major decision that Albanese government made when they were voted in, and pressured by the Greens,
right,
was to roll out the tax concessions for electric vehicles, and plug-in hybrids.
Okay.
And so probably the most generous tax benefit offered to employees I've seen in 30 years in business, in dealing with retail customers and money.
Okay.
Yeah. So
wow,
that's quite extraordinary. You could get up to $40,000 worth of tax deductions on a $50,000 car over 4 years. Like, it's outrageous.
Yeah. That is outrageous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So essentially, as long as it's under about 85K, including GST, 100% of the cost of that vehicle, that stress, it's got to be full electric or a plug-in hybrid.
Okay.
It can't be any other variety. It's got to be fit that category.
Right.
Backdated to 1 July 2022. Is essentially 100% tax deductible. So if anyone understands how salary sacrifice works for superannuation, if you have a $100,000 salary and you salary sacrifice 10 grand, say, into super,
Yeah.
then you only pay tax on 90 grand. So that's why it's fully deductible.
Of course.
It's exactly the same principle with an electric
But on
car,
a car, but an electric car.
that fits into
Or
that
a hybrid.
category. Yeah, a
Okay.
plug-in hybrid.
Plug-in hybrid.
Not a hybrid.
Oh,
has to be
okay.
plug-in
Clarify
hybrid.
that.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. They're quite clear on that. So hybrid, no. A normal hybrid is dealt with the same as a normal internal combustion engine,
Okay.
petrol or diesel.
Right. All right.
But yeah, so like a $56,000 BYD fully electric, the sort of a very high quality electric car, Chinese car. That'll be about, for an $80,000 salary earner, will be about $15,000 to $18,000 a year total cost.
Okay.
That's 100% of the finance and a budget for the electricity that you'll pay for at the not at the petrol bowser, though, Aaron, at the charging station.
Okay, you talking to a car guy? Come on, you're ripping me a bit, yeah.
And of course, a budget for insurance, because insurance is more expensive in an electric car. So
Is
you
it
budget,
really?
you budget up your insurance, your tires, the brake pads, and the windscreen wipes. That's about it when you service an electric car.
Right.
But that all gets added into the finance, and that could be, say, 15 to 16 grand a year on a $56,000 car.
Right.
That means if you're on $100,000 salary, take off 15 grand, what do you got?
You got $85,000.
Yeah. So you're only paying tax.
So you're being taxed on $85,000 rather than 100.
Dead right.
So of that, straight away, boom, you're probably talking about a $7,000 tax advantage.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you're
I'm not a tax guy.
Roughly third. Yeah, roughly third.
Okay.
Roughly third. So you.
I thought it was a bit more.
So you're paying. Okay. You're in the 30% tax bracket there.
Yeah, okay.
34%. So
about $5 grand.
You're again $4.5 to $5 grand of a tax break. But there's a lot of people, what they don't understand is that you actually don't have to pay. You don't have to finance the GST on a vehicle up to about 60K. And so on that $56,000 BYD, then your actual finance will only be roughly, 50 grand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, mate, we've got a lot of questions coming through, so I hope we have a bit of a squiz. This wonderful thing called interaction, but I might need my binoculars to get the screen because I'm living the vanity world and not wearing my glasses. But I've got plenty of questions going in there. Now, do you need? This is something that I want to ask because it's questions coming from someone there. Now, do I need my boss's permission to have a novated lease?
Yeah, great question. This is an ATO approved tax product.
Okay.
And the answer is yes.
Okay.
An employer has to offer this as a benefit to their employees,
right,
in order for them to get access to it.
All right.
And this is why Kevin Rudd actually had a very valid point. He says it's really unfair on all of the employees in Australia that do not have an employer that's prepared to offer it as a benefit. And he said, it's just, a bit of a rort because only half the population can get access to it.
We live in a world right now where, employer retention is such a big thing. Right?
Yes.
So employers are doing everything possible to offer all sorts of services and benefits to their employees to try and retain them because, they leave, you've got to retrain, there's all those extra costs, the recruiting somebody else and the HR. So you want to keep your people as long as possible. Why in the world would you not be giving them these attractions?
Well, it's just education, which is why we love doing what we do in the small to medium business sector, because they've never been approached by the big leasing companies in 25 years.
Okay.
It's never been offered to them.
Wow.
And so
must be like Christmas now.
Oh, well, as soon as an employer says, oh, okay, Jeff, so if I'm going to offer this to my staff, there's no cost to me to offer it as a benefit to my staff. Tick. There's no liability to me as an employer to offer it as my staff. Yes, that's correct. Tick, no liability.
Okay.
And
that's a biggie.
It's a biggie.
That's a biggie.
Yeah, because the car is actually owned. Well, it's in the name of the employee.
Right.
And the finance is in the name of the employee.
Right.
So if the employee leaves the employer halfway through a 3-year lease, they just take the liability and the car with them. And they go and plug that whole lease into the payroll system of the next employer, as long as that employer is prepared to offer it as a benefit.
I was going to ask that question because, look, if you do want to move on,
Mm.
you'd hate to leave your toys behind. You want to take them with you. So as long as you go to another business that offers it, you're okay?
Yes.
Okay.
And what'll and if it's a small business that they go to,
Mhm.
like if they're going to go off to work for the government or Rio Tinto or someone, no problem. They already offer it.
Okay.
If they go to another small business down the road, they'll generally ask our company to explain to their prospective new employer how easy it is to set it up as a benefit. Because
so you can liaise, you can actually do the education there.
we do.
Okay.
We educate employers and employees because you
Right.
can't have one without the other.
No, you can't.
It's as simple as that, right?
Doesn't work.
And so the other big thing that employers have to understand is that Kevin Rudd did a fantastic thing when he introduced what's called the employee contribution method.
Look, every time you say this, okay, we're going to have a problem. Every time you say nice things about Kevin Rudd, come on. No, I'm kidding, mate. You go for it.
Well, yeah.
You know, I joke. I jest completely. Like, the reality is, all people in life bring good and bad. All right.
Yeah.
And if Kevin Rudd, you know, did some very positive things. I mean, obviously, the stimulus packages, all that sort of thing, did a lot for Australia when we needed it. So I just jest, I joke about it. And I think to myself, isn't it great? Because you're bringing me things that I didn't know about before, that there was actually a benefit to.
And don't worry, many accountants don't know this as well. They need to look it up. It's quite ridiculous.
Right.
So what Kevin Rudd did, obviously his backroom people did. They said, look, we've got to fix up this fringe benefits tax business for the employers. So when I first started all this consultancy work for Rio and BHP back in 2002, when we started running financial literacy courses for all those corporates, it was a nightmare for the employer because this is still an FBT product. Okay. And in the old days, up to 2013, we had to collect the fringe benefits tax off the employee's payroll. The employer had to collect it, had to gross it up, claim as a deduction, and then the poor employer had to remit the FBT at the end of the FBT year, which is the end of March every year. It was an administrative pain in the ass. Really, and a lot of and small businesses wouldn't have had a bar of it even then anyway, because it was such a pain. But Kevin Rudd introduced a system that said, righto, if you make a post-tax contribution towards your vehicle, basically equal to 20% of the vehicle, then that extinguishes FBT, right? As a post. Yeah. So it's a post-tax contribution. Okay. So nearly all of our novated leasing, is fully maintained novated leasing, where we package up all the other costs associated with the vehicle around the finance of the vehicle. Right. So it's not just a pure finance thing; it's a holistic approach to. This is the real world cost of the vehicle: insurance, tires, budget for everything. Right. And then, as long as it's not an electric vehicle or a plug-in hybrid, so it's an internal combustion engine. Yep. There will be a pre and a post-tax deduction out of payroll. Okay. Which appears on their payslips, everyone's payslips. So they don't get 100% tax deduction like they do an EV. It's often around half and half, so about roughly half pre-tax and roughly half post-tax. Okay. So the tax benefit is the piece that goes in pre-tax. Right. Because they said, well, we're not going to avoid collecting the same money, the government, but we'll make it easy on the employer to administer it. Yeah, and that's really important, especially for small employees. Yeah, because you just don't want to overload small business people with extra admin at payroll time or tax time. Mate, I'm going to just jump back to the questions because they keep coming on in. Let's have a bit of a look. Look, we've got a comment there. This information is gold, and not knowing this stuff that, in our lives, every single aspect of our lives. That's a very true comment. Okay, again, knowledge is power, and I'll say it till the cows come home, because if you don't know, you don't know. I'm literally in the conversation we're having here. I've learned about 5 different things already, so I'm doing all right. Okay, now I'm just going to. While I've just got my attention there, let's have a bit of a look. Have a look here. So many things coming in here. So now, if you're a small business owner, can you engage to handle staff requests? Right. So sorry if I'm misunderstanding. No, don't get that. No, that's not a common one. So we had a girl out of the blue phone up the other day. Works for a company out in Belmont. They've got 35 staff. She was desperate for a new EV. Explained everything to her, and she said, "Yep, that's great, but you got to tell the boss about it."
Okay.
Said, absolutely. Tell us your boss's names. Had a chat to him. Says,
Yep.
no. So I've just explained everything to him that I explained to you. He said, yep, no, that's cool. And then the boss said, look, would you mind coming out and doing sort of a bit of a lunch and learn session? Because we're a national company and everyone's coming over on the second week of August. Can you come out and do a presentation to all the staff? So we do this quite often.
Okay.
And so it's just a broad-based education on how it all works.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the employer is offering this as a benefit, they're rolling it out as a staff benefit because they love the idea of attracting new staff if they're a growing business.
Sure.
And obviously retaining good staff.
Well, that's the biggie.
Which is a biggie. So costly to replace staff. And so, and of course, they're in payroll tax territory too. So, which is a good thing because when you reduce the taxable income of an employee, you reduce your actual gross payroll, which means that you correspondingly reduce your payroll tax. Yeah. So,
look at that. So why in the world are we not taught this in school, right? Honestly, like financial literacy is so important, right? And why are we not taught it? Okay, we go out into the world here, and a lot of these comments are sort of suggesting very much similar sort of things. Why do we go out there? This is something that I mean, this is why it's a great product, right? And this is why why what you do resonates with me, because you come in, you talk about it in real world terms. You don't just throw big, huge words at me or nice little initials of this and that, mate. We actually talk about the Tintex and how it will affect me, or how it's going to actually, or how I can actually make it happen. If I don't know how to make it happen, then you'll explain it to me.
Yes.
Or for that matter, you'll go and have the conversation with my employer or whatever.
Totally. Yeah. It's just bridging the knowledge gap. That's all it is. And well, it's just right across the board. Knowledge is everything. Really.
No, it's just so
finance is a big one, but it's who would know how to run your show?
Finances. I mean, look, this is how we live our lives. Okay, everything costs money. All right, everything we do costs money. So let's make absolute maximum use of our income. All right, let's buy as much freedom as we can. Okay? However that sort of might sort of present itself. So if you're intelligent about the way you do it, you're not throwing money away hand over fist. You're actually, so if you with your earnings, for argument's sake, when it comes to your taxation, the fact that you can pour it back into your super, and that's something I actually want to ask you a little bit. I know we're talking about the car thing. Maybe that's because it's me and cars are everything.
It's all interrelated, right?
Yeah, well, it is. But the super thing. Can you explain a little bit more about the super thing to me? Because this is something I don't have my head around. Obviously, you need to have some sort of retirement package put together, right? So, okay. Can you give me a couple of ideas on how I can reduce my tax and put it away for super?
Totally. Yeah. Super misunderstood really as a product. I found over the years. I was in a meeting recently and someone said, I think we should, go and buy a property because, super's, there's real problems with super, Okay. So I said, okay, why is that? He said, well, it hasn't been performing that well. I'd be probably better off buying a property or getting into buying crypto or something like that. And I said, look, super is simply a tax structure.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
It is. That's all it is. You can choose to have any asset class inside your super fund.
Now, this is if you self-manage, of course. If
no. So normally a public offer fund, you're with Host Plus,
right?
You're with Colonial First State. Many are in industry super funds, and they just sign on and don't read anything because it's a default super fund. The employer is saying, "Oh well, you signed on."
That's what I did. I just signed it.
Sign on. But you can choose the level of risk that you want to take on within all super funds. Now, some give you more flexibility than others. And once again, I'm not giving advice here because I'm just general education, right? Because I'm no longer a financial advisor.
No, well, you're educating me.
It's pure education. So you go, righto, well, I could choose to have 100% cash in my super fund,
Why would you do that?
And not any shares, and not
Right.
any property,
Right.
and not any fixed interest.
But you'll be losing money then.
You are, but the point I'm trying to make is that you have the choice of choosing
Okay.
what asset class you want.
You've got the power.
Yes.
Okay.
You've got the power.
Right.
And that's just a very small thing that a lot of people don't understand.
Didn't know.
They don't.
Look, I thought very much you signed that bit of paper and you are very much at the mercy of that fund manager effectively in that company.
No. Look, you've got basically four key asset classes.
Okay.
One is cash. One is what they call fixed interest investments, which are bonds or term deposits.
Yes.
So they're defensive assets.
Okay.
Not very flexible.
But they'd be your blue chip, yeah? Kind of if you look at it that way.
Well,
maybe,
not normally. You don't normally refer to them as blue chip.
Okay.
They're sort of conservative assets because cash and bonds, government and federal bonds, and corporate bonds, I mean, they don't go up or down much. They're steady.
Okay.
Lock in 7% for 10 years. All right. But your capital's secure.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Pretty secure. Or then you've got what's called growth assets, which are property and shares. So if you looked at the sort of the 800 trillion of investable assets globally,
Sure.
all the wealth in the world is pretty well in those four asset classes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
So getting back to your question, it's really about understanding what super is. It's a tax structure.
Okay.
It gives you as of 1 July this year.
Yep.
Including your employer contribution. Righto. So Johnny gets $100,000 salary, taxable salary, and his employer will pay 11.5% on top. So 11,500 on top of the 100.
Okay.
That goes into super.
Yeah.
But as of 1 July this year, the maximum that can be a tax deductible or concessional contribution into super is $30,000. Right.
Okay.
So the rest, up to 30 grand, you could choose to put into super out of your 100.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Out of your 100.
Yeah.
So you've got essentially, another 18.5 grand.
Yep.
That you could salary sacrifice out of your 100.
Sure.
Straight into your super fund, and you won't pay tax on that 18.5 grand.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, a third of that
is
well, not bonus because it's your money.
Yeah. So yeah.
But you would be losing in taxation.
Yeah. So now, here's a question.
Okay.
On the 18 grand.
Yep.
And so let's say it's $7,000 of tax savings.
Okay.
All right. Based on a tax bracket.
You're
not going to get that 7 grand that you're not paying in tax. So where's it going?
Well,
the tax man's not getting it. So who's getting it? You're getting it. You're not getting it in your pay packet. So where could it be going? It's got to be going into your super.
Well, yeah.
Agree?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Sorry, I misunderstood what you said there.
So
okay, I'm with you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So
all of a sudden I was looking around the couch for $7,000.
So therein lies just a little basic bit of education. You go, well, so I not only get my 18,000 going in, but the 7,000 that's not going to the ATO is now also going into my super.
Which you are then making money on.
Which you are then
based on the risk assessment.
The risk assessment that you've applied.
Yeah.
So you might be a balanced investor. You might go, oh, well, I want sort of roughly half and half. So half property and shares and then half cash and fixed interest investments.
I'll ask a strange question on that. What do most people typically, as far as a mix, what do they look for?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because if you look at the 6 million industry super funds that are out there, nearly a very, very high percentage just tick the balanced box.
Okay.
So conservative, balanced, growth.
Okay.
I'm bet in the middle. I'll tick that.
That's what I would do.
I'll tick the middle box.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's basically it's the default because you do have to make a choice. And so, but very interesting with the industry super funds, you look at them very, very closely. And I'm just going back from my experience as a planner because I sold the business in February 2022. But then if we were doing analysis on those industry super funds, we would actually find a very dangerous piece of deception.
Really?
Yeah. Tick balanced fund, you look into it, and it was between 90 and 95% growth.
How's that balanced?
It's not.
Not at all.
It's not. And the trustees of these industry super funds have been challenged on that a few times. And
right now, mate, right? Guess what's playing in my head? Compare the pair. Okay, of the pair, I'd rather talk to you, to be honest with you. You want straight advice.
You do.
You want honesty. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, integrity is so important in life, full stop. When it comes to your money, it's even more so.
Yes, you do. You've got to get educated.
You really do.
And
you
really can't just cop the crib room gossip. That
well, actually, another comment that's just come through on that. You're talking about the crib room gossip, rather. Like a lot of people just forget and they take no responsibility. That's another comment we've got coming up there, because that is true. I mean, and I would be totally guilty as charged on that. I mean, I think of jobs I've had in my life where I've just literally, you're just going through the motions and you tick the box and off you go, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I've done. And to be honest, I don't think I know anyone who's done anything differently. And I've ticked the middle box for the balanced one.
Yeah.
And now I hear that, perhaps it wasn't as balanced as I feel.
Yeah, you'll find hardly any of them are balanced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is again.
That's a worry, because if the house fell out of the stock market overnight and you've got 90% of your retirement money, then it could, if it's anything like the last 2 or 3 stock market crashes, it'll go down by by 30 to 50% in value.
Yeah, of course it will.
And it'll take, the normal cycles are 6 to 8 years to get it back. So if you're 50 and you're in your mid 50s or late 50s and that happened, you're going, my God, it's going to take, I want to retire next year.
You're not retiring next year.
And I've just, I've just had a reduction. You haven't lost. You've lost it when you sell it. But,
I mean, you've just made a very good point. You haven't lost it until you've sold it. You retain that asset. You're holding on to it.
The asset's there. It just might take 6 to 8 years for it to come back. And that's time you don't have if you're in your late 50s.
Look, that's something issue I want to talk to you further about. Obviously, we have talked to, and we've got some people involved with crypto here at Edge, right? And I see that as a pretty exciting proposition.
It's if you know where to get the right knowledge and education, it's fabulous. There's some great opportunities in crypto.
Yeah, and one thing again, talking to you earlier, is that you incorporate crypto. Now, a lot of people in your neck of the woods, in your industry, hear crypto and run.
Yes.
Purely lack of knowledge. There's not a fear factor. It's fear of the unknown. They don't actually know the game. They don't understand the system. They don't understand the tax side of it as well. Now, you do. This is really important.
And we've spent a lot of time studying it. There's about 23,000 crypto coins out there, and we support a platform that only has 21 assets on the platform.
Okay,
so it's a conservative in a sense, because there's a very small group of altcoins, and then
what coins?
They're called altcoins, alternative coins, which are all multi-billion-dollar companies and turn over billions every 24 hours. So essentially software businesses, these companies. A lot of people get tied up, my crypto, but there is software businesses.
There's tangible things that are attached to these things.
Yeah. So, but the big thing with our platform that we promote is that the accountants love it, because
hang on, wait. Are you saying accountants show emotion? Come on, really?
Well, they do, to a point where they can have the frustration of a client coming in with a digital shoebox full of spreadsheets of all their assets, and they look at it and go, God, if you want me to go through this, it's 30 hours of work.
Yeah. And
a pain point for accountants, and crypto is exactly that point. The clients are coming in and their records are all over the shop because they've downloaded a Excel spreadsheet off some exchange in Estonia,
Yep.
And there's no cost base. There's no valuation at the 30th of midnight on the 30th of June for the accountant to get the balance right.
Well, it's an international business, right? Yeah.
Well, it's just getting the data right. Okay. And so this platform that we promote is a beauty, because it actually provides an internal dashboard that the account holder can nominate their accountant or their self-managed super fund auditor to get read-only access to live data for report time.
That's brilliant.
It's just brilliant.
That is just brilliant.
Yeah. So
that's not the shoebox full of receipts. That
No.
one. Yeah, this is. I mean, this is brilliant for so many reasons. I mean, it means that your accountant can be actively involved in the recording. So it's a constant process, I would tend to think. So therefore, the information's up to date, and when you're not having to do it all. At the last the last couple of weeks of the financial year, but they don't have control, obviously. So that's the other thing. You've got that safety and security. Yeah.
So it's good. And so we even had an estate planning lawyer in Sydney the other day go, "Oh, great! I'm glad I know about this platform because, he's been made the executor of a will. He's going through all the assets and there's property and there's shares and there's this and there's that, jewelry and whatever. Oh my God, there's $200,000 worth of Bitcoin, and and his biggest problem is making sure that asset is secure,
okay,
and that it's going to be there in order to distribute to the nominated beneficiaries when probate's issued.
Yeah.
And so now he can order that Bitcoin to be transferred off that, Binance or any one of these exchanges into our exchange.
Yeah.
Because he gets access to live data and the right valuation.
Right.
B, he can then break it up as per the instructions of the deceased.
Right.
Because each of the 5 children are meant to get 200 grams worth of Bitcoin equally. And thirdly, he knows it's fully insured because it's the only platform in Australia out of the, there's between 200 and 400 exchanges, they say, and there's about 200 that are real. But the one we use is the only one that's got a full custody protection. So if the coins got hacked off the exchange or the company went broke, that asset is fully insured.
To me, this is an absolute game changer, right?
Yep.
Because it takes so much of the risk away. Okay, you make a small sacrifice of cost in comparison to the gain, and you've got yourself, a guaranteed asset against all. I mean, whether it be crypto or whether it be fiat, it could be shares on the All Ords, right? I mean, the ability to insure them is just a massive thing.
It really, really is. Like, if any conventional financial advisor would use a platform, where custody has been in place for years. So if the platform went broke and you got whatever, $500,000 worth of property and shares and bonds and whatever, then the custodian actually owns those assets on behalf of you, the member, and they return those assets to you because they're the custodians of your money.
Your money,
of your money.
That's right.
And so it's great that there is a crypto and tokenized asset platform that's an AUSTRAC licensed exchange platform.
Right. That's important.
Head office in Sydney. It's a private company. It is an Australian-New Zealand business.
Right.
That has the full custody protection for all asset holders on the platform. So, because a lot of people will use a Tracer wallet or a hard wallet, and they'll take their coins off platform.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. Yeah,
and it's a very good thing to do. That if you are going to run the risk of having them stolen off a platform, but there's also an inherent risk in that because sometimes people lose their special key, or their hard wallet. There's a big tidy up in the house and something goes to recycling, and it's rare, but it does happen.
It does happen, yeah.
And so this is for those people that go, nah, I can't trust myself.
Okay.
I'll pay for it.
Yep.
Yes, you do pay for it. Like it's 1% of your funds under management, your asset value.
That's brilliant.
And then for the first 100 grand, and then drop down to 0.5% after that. Yeah.
There you go. That's it.
But it's cheap for full insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't get that insurance on my car, I'll tell you right now. All right, mate, look, I've got a lot more to ask you, but I just think it's best to have you back, to be absolutely frank with you. We've got so many questions coming through, and I did see something here, just a couple of things I want to speak to you about before, because these are questions coming in, and something we really value here at Edge is interaction with people. Yes. So we've got a question here. Can they get a link to the platform? No, you can't. No, I'm only teasing. Best bet is, all jokes aside, I want everyone to get the best advice, and the best advice is go straight to you.
Yes.
Quite honestly, Jeff.
Yeah.
So there is a web address down there at the bottom. It's wealthbydesign.com.au. It's running on the ticker at the bottom of the screen there. Get in touch. I think you can even organise like one-on-one time.
You can.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, there's an opportunity to log on to that website and just book in a 15-minute or a 30-minute chat.
Okay.
There's no cost or obligation for that. It just gets slotted into my diary.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Look, comments about them being full insured. That is just absolutely brilliant. Because you've got full custody protection. I mean, that's a biggie.
It's a biggie. Yeah.
It's a big game changer.
Yes, it is a game changer.
Really
it is. And the National Bank have opted not to produce their own stable coin. Big announcement 2 weeks ago. They're actually going to be offering custody, because ASIC's biggest concern is custody, and their rules and regulations will come in probably about middle of next year. So the NAB will have a custody option for our platform. We've got someone else to choose from now.
Yeah, no, it's good to have options. Let's face it. When you've got a monopoly, you've got a problem. It's good. And look, the fact that you're sitting here, the fact that you're giving options to, look, people who are working for employees, small business owners, okay, not just the big end of town, to give those same advantages to everyone. Yeah, it makes me, look, quite frankly, proud to be associated with you, mate.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
Well, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I think that there's such a, as I say, I don't like the great divide. Big believer in backing the everyday Aussie, and I hate injustice, and I hate when people can get things that others can't. And the fact that you're enabling us to get the deals on the cars, or the taxation, or it just at every level is absolutely brilliant, mate. So I'm going to finish the old stream and we'll get back to the radio, but absolute pleasure. Can I invite you back though?
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. Yes. I'm only in Subi. I don't have to.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Well,
no, I'd love to. Thank you.
See you next week.
Thank you for the kind
Shall we lock it in? Why not?
Yeah.
Indeed. All right. Well, I'm going to press some buttons, see what we can do. As I say, it's been an absolute pleasure. Jeff Bowman of
Wealth by Design.